And welcome back one last time. We are ready for our finals match here in our Florida midseason showdown. Brady, it has been a crazy day full of very fast paced games here on stream. A lot of 2-0s, a lot of fun teams. And here in our finals match, we've got two returning faces, a couple of teams that we've already seen on stream, but winner takes all. We've got at most 3 games left. It's going to come down to the wire, and I'm excited to see how we finish out.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about hyper offense the whole day, obviously, and I feel like these two teams are literally the pinnacle of everything we have been talking about today. So let's break these down for anyone who's just tuning in. Here are the teams that we are going to see, which made the finals of this tournament. So the first team is piloted by Zachary Khan, and it is a team of Tornadus, Ogrepon, the Fire Ogrepon, Regidrago, Gyarados, Farigiraf, and Goldango. So that is a Tailwind team where you want to get up Tailwind and then sweep with Goldango, Regidrago, or Ogrepon. Now, as for Elijah's team, it is hyper offense in a different way. So how Zachary's team works is by getting up Tailwind and sweeping you, but Elijah's team works by abusing priority moves. So it's a combination of Dragapult and Chien-Pao. As we saw inside that last top 4 game, Dragon Knight and Chien-Pao. So as we saw in that last top 4 game, Dragon Knight was able to spam extreme speed up against the other opponent's team consistently. So it doesn't really matter if you're faster or slower because it's a priority move. So Elijah's team is that Chien-Pao Dragonite combination like I was talking about. There's also a Fluttermane, Heatran, and Iron Hands. So a very, tried and true, proven kind of core of that Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, Iron Hands, Heatran. But Dragonite is also on there to allow some more potency with the Chien-Pao. Now, the wild card pick on Elijah's team is that Gudra Hisui. I have not seen it brought once this entire day, but we've only seen him, I think only once. So
I think Elijah might be the only one with it here, but we are just about ready to get started here in our finals. One thing to note, these guys have been playing all day long. This is a lot of Pokemon to handle in one day. Before we get started, Brady, how do you stay in it mentally? How do you not let the fatigue get to you?
That's a great question. So fatigue, that is an issue that a lot of people experience because, it's very mentally taxing to play a game where you have to think at such a high level for multiple rounds. So what I usually do is take a break whenever I can. So if I finish my round early, I don't go on Twitter, I don't watch videos, I just meditate or, talk to my friends, just relax, kind of calm down. You want to, blend in some, just some rest and relaxation in with all of your sets that you're doing. So, you don't want to do game after game after game after game because you will become exhausted. Also, pacing yourself on some, maybe some caffeine if you intake caffeine. Alternatively, making sure that you eat enough. That's the other thing. Because if you don't eat enough, you actually burn a lot of calories whenever you are inside of a game such as chess or such as Pokemon because it trains a very specific part of your brain where you are thinking. So, if you're going to be there the entire day, you're mentally burning a lot of calories. So make sure that you pack some snacks such as Cliff Bars, such as just some maybe some, beef jerky or just something that will give you something to cling on to that will give you energy sustained throughout the whole day.
I think those are some very, very good recommendations, especially for those who, if you're new to Pokemon, are in Florida, planning on coming to the Orlando Regional in, I believe, February this year?
April this year.
Sorry, got mixed up with last year's, but we've got so many opportunities for people to come and get into VGC if they have not already. Ultimately, it's a game that continues to test your mental toughness, kind of like chess, and one in which, you come, have a good time. I feel very fortunate that everybody that I've met within the community has been so nice, so willing to help, and everybody just wants to see what you can come up with and be the very best like no one ever was.
Oh, I could not have worded that better myself. Legitimately, like, that's really like what it is. Like yes, the game is a very intense mental exercise, but also why I love this game is because like the people you meet. Legitimately, I've met some like my best friends inside this game, and you know it's always great because like it's a hobby you can bond with, and you know meet some really cool people, maybe meet some lifetime friends, but also like you know to pivot back to the aspect of it being mentally taxing. So instead of chess, like a lot of it is very you know trying to maintain the board, making sure you make the correct play every single turn. But in Pokemon, there's the aspect of risk management, which makes it very different from chess. It's very similar in the aspect where you want to position a board and create a board that's impossible for your opponent to break, but it's very different because there's this whole other element of, dang, like it's risk. My opponent knows I can do this. I could miss this attack. The opponent could get a secondary effect. Like you have to consider all these extra variables whenever you're playing to deduce it down to, you know, 2 or 3 plays that could technically all work, but you just have to break it down to one that you're going to click.
So looking at the teams for these two players, it's interesting to note that, as you mentioned, Elijah's team focuses heavily on those priority moves. Zachary is wielding the Farigiraf, and its ability Armor Tail negates all of that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Elijah, without really any other speed control, is able to control the pace of the game without being able to just 1-2 punch everything like we just saw in our last top 4 match.
That is going to be really interesting. You know, if I was Zachary, what would be going into my head? Now, this is just like, you know, my guess here. I have no idea if they're actually going to do this, but I would probably go something with like Tornadus plus like X, and then I have Farigiraf in the back, and then another sweep. X being like a sweeper, such as like Goldango or Regidrago. Because what you want to do is position a board where you have a Tailwind, so you outspeed the Chin-Pow. You block priority, so you're not afraid of the Dragonite. And then you're balling, you know, like you're just clicking like, you know, make it rain, just like knocking out everything. Or you're clicking, you know, Dragon Energy. You know, it's like, that's what I would be looking for with Zach, is using Farigiraf as a tool to block the Dragonite's E-speeds. Like, I would bait it in the early game, you know, lead something that is totally weak to extreme speed to, you know, bait it and then switch in the priority blocking. Now, I do think it's kind of interesting with the fact that there is a Flutter Mane on the field of Elijah. So I'm very interested to see how and if that does even affect anything, because obviously Flutter Mane completely walls Regidrago. It can one-hit knock out Tornadus. It can one-hit knock out Gyarados with Chi. Okay, there's no Chi, so it cannot do that. It can also one-hit knock out Farigiraf in the right condition, and also Goldango. So this will be really interesting.
And here we are. We do see the Farigiraf on the field for Zachary alongside Gyarados. Elijah bringing that big beefy hands that we saw in our last top 4 alongside Flutter Mane, putting a lot of pressure onto Zachary. But good to note that because of the Farigiraf, probably not going to see a fake out.
You know, if I was Elijah, I would literally just be like thinking like, wow, this Gyarados is inviting me to click a wild charge right into it. And, you know, I'd be so tempted to just click that button right off the bat. But we do see the Gyarados look for a Terra there.
But that is ultimately a great point, how leads in this game can really just change the pace of the rest of the game, because now your Terra is committed to this Gyarados, a more utility-based Mon than, you know, an offensive threat. As the Moonblast goes into Farigiraf and nearly knocks it out, Waterfall does about half to the Flutter Mane. Psychic into the Iron Hands, doing about, over half, and the special defense drop, but the Thunder Punch into the Farigiraf. I think Elijah's trying to set up for the end game here with that move.
Right. And if you notice, Elijah did not quite commit his Terra yet, so that can only lead me to believe that maybe he's saving that for something such as that Dragonite inside the back. Now, another important piece of detail that we just learned from Game 1 that can be applied inside of Game 2 is that Flutter Mane, with that Moonblast, nearly one-hit knocked out that Farigiraf entirely by itself. So if that Flutter Mane were to go for a Terra Fairy in Game 2, we know that would knock it out, given off the damage output from Game 1. So Flutter Mane switches out.
Elijah going to go into the Gudra. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Get ready for it. Shadow Ball into the Iron Hands with the special defense drop and the critical hit. Iron Hands is off the field. Gyarados left to Waterfall, the Hisuian Gudra, who just eats it like breakfast.
So really why the Fluttermane wanted to switch out there is because we do know it is Choice Specs locked into that Moonblast, so it was doing nothing up against the Goldango, and if it did click that Moonblast, it could have just fainted to a Goldango Shadow Ball the following turn. So Elijah really correctly identifying that and going into Heatran, which I think is a very solid choice to go into, knowing that the Terrestrialization is currently used, meaning that Gyarados is no longer resistant to this Heat Wave, and it is also weak to Flash Cannon, so Heatran is a great pick here.
Couple other things. Looking at Zachary's team, if I'm Elijah, I already see that the Terra's gone off onto the Gyarados, which means if Ogerpon is in the back, it can't Terrasilize, which leaves my Heatran in an interesting spot. So I've got to try and make the most of it while it can, and that Ogerpon isn't on the field. As Heatran opts to Terra Grass, Goldango Shadow Ball right into the Heatran does so a lot of damage, and another special defense drop. Heat Wave from Heatran. Goldango able to hold on. Gyarados returning with the Waterfall. And Gudra, Heavy Slam, not doing as much as I think Elijah was hoping there.
You know, this is why I'm not a big fan of Gudra. Do you realize if there was literally any other Pokemon inside that slot, that Goldango would not be around for another turn, but now a Shadow Ball can come out onto Heatran, and Goldango doesn't even care about this Gudra because we know that it only has access to Heavy Slam and Body Press, and Heavy Slam does not seem like it will knock out the Goldango here. So let's see what they decide to lock in. Like I was saying, I think it's very interesting if the Goldango could potentially knock out the Heatran with the Shadow Ball, but maybe Zachary's going for a hard read this turn, reading the Protect on the Heatran, which does actually come out. So we saw this play from Zachary. Very, very smart here. Just saying, I know you're going to Protect. I'm going to call you out on that.
Shadow Ball into the Gudra does just shy of 50%. Waterfall gets it under 50%. Gudra, Heavy Slam.
Does knock out. Never mind.
Does knock out.
Okay.
All
there
right.
it is. I was like, okay. I was like, I'm sleeping on Gudra, you know, but.
That, honestly, if you're both Elijah and Zachary, that critical hit is probably does more harm than good because of the information that you lose. Because now you don't know whether or not a Heavy Slam like that would do that much damage.
Right. You know, what's also kind of interesting about this is that if the Heatran does not get knocked out in, like, this turn, like, you know, this is the only window that this Heatran can get knocked out here from Zachary, because we know it's protected, cannot protect again. It is holding the oh no, it's not holding the leftovers actually. Okay, so it's not recovering HP, so there's so it's not a window. You just want to knock out this Heatran though, because you don't want to eat up like a Heat Wave. Something I gotta say about this Heatran, by the way, which I think is very creative, it is holding the ability shield. So normally you'd be like, what is that? Why is that being used? It's really cool on Heatran because you get to preserve your Flash Fire, which Ogerpon has Mold Breakers. So normally Ogerpon would be able to, you know, kind of punch through you.
And Zachary did not read the team sheets, or he didn't know what ability shield does. Oh, that's a huge, huge play for Elijah. Gudra with the Heavy Slam, not able to knock out the Gyarados. It's so close. But the extra power from the Ivy Cudgel, able to bring Ogerpon down to less than half. Gyarados at 6 health. Oh, that one hurts. And that's what a long day will do to you.
All right, we go game 2. You know, it's like there was an opportunity to maybe win, but you know, after just falling for that the ability shield, playing right into Elijah's trap, which in Elijah's defense, that's like why you run the item. It's not to, you know, cheese your opponent. It's like legitimately just safe. It's like, okay, well now you literally cannot break my Heatran, so I'm just gonna leave it here and just start spamming Heat Waves. So that's the power of ability shield. That was fascinating because I was just talking about that. I didn't even realize that would come into play here because I thought it was
perfect timing.
Like,
we planned that, folks.
Right.
I swear.
This is scripted. This is scripted.
Congrats to Elijah for taking game 1. Zachary, hey, at least now we know he's probably not going to make that same mistake again.
Definitely not. Like I was saying, but remember what happened turn 1. If I was Elijah, I'd feel way more confident about my game 1 plan, not only because it just worked. That was a bit dicey. You had to get the crit, your opponent had to blunder there. But outside of that, if I was Elijah, I would be feeling awesome because of the fact that now I know that my Terra Fairy Moonblast, when it knocks out for Ridge Raft, so that kind of eliminates the option of Ridge Raft even really being brought, knowing it's just in check in turn 1. So that's crazy good information for Elijah.
Oh, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see how Zachary is able to adjust. Looking at Elijah's team, maybe we see the Reggie Drago pop up and kind of go with that hyper offense mode that we discussed prior to game 1. Try and chunk as much damage as you can in hopes that, maybe the Flutter Mane isn't out on the first turn.
I could totally see that. Now, the one thing which might be a little bit scary is potentially an extreme speed lead from the, because it's like Elijah, even though he did not go with the Dragonite instead of game 1, it's always there. You have to respect it because that extreme speed could knock out your Gyarados with just the tiniest bit of chip. It can put your Regidrago in a range of anything. It can OHKO the Ogre Pawn. It also knocks out Tornadus. It's just like that is there, and you have to respect that.
Which, having that, and we're going to see the same lead from Elijah, but Zachary going to swap out and bring in the Reggie Drago like we were just talking about. However, I don't know how I'm feeling about this initial lead if I'm Zachary.
So, just like I said inside of the previous game that we learned, a Terra Fairy Moonblast here knocks out Ridge Raft, and because Zachary let himself open to this, this lead, this Flutter Mane, that is, in my opinion, precisely what's going to happen. Literally, it's going to be for a Terra Fairy Moonblast and then a Drain Punch on the Reggie Draco, and if Zachary falls for this and goes for the Terra Steel, Elijah could just win here right on turn 1.
Absolutely. This is going to be a big, big turn. We see the Terastallization on the Reggie
on the Flutter Mane!
Oh, so we know that the Farigiraf will live a Moonblast if that's what Elijah goes for. He does, unless a crit. Nope, the exact same damage, but the special attack drop. Reggie Drago with the Terra Steel Terra Blast, deciding to eliminate the Flutter. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
wow!
Ridge Raft stinks, man. That thing
special
stinks.
Attack drop, and Elijah makes the read. Wow, I can't believe how much. Well, Flutter Mane does have pretty good special defense, but Terra Steel Terra Blast, not knocking out hurts for Zachary.
This is why, I mean, okay, it's not that bad, honestly. If you are Zachary, your opponent committed, or if you are Elijah, because your opponent did commit their Terra, that Drain Punch, brilliant, by the way. Love that Drain Punch. Awesome Drain Punch covering the Terra Steel option. I would have loved to have seen the Terra Fairy Moonblast because you always love the Terra Steel. But, this current game plan that Elijah's going for, preserving his Terra. So maybe he has a Terra Pokemon in the back that can clean win a game. Now, okay, this is what you're not supposed to do into Flutter Mane. You have to make sure that if Flutter Mane, attacks, it's getting knocked out back. Because now Flutter Mane's awesome, dude. I get another attack off.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Reggie Drago going down to the Drain Punch, and Elijah, turn 2, has a great position. And Zachary trying to claw back and force a game 3 with his Ogerpon and Goldengo, but he doesn't have Terastallization.
Now, if there was a Heatran in the back, in my opinion, Elijah actually has 100% win condition very easily. You just have to position the board to where it's a Heatran and Flutter Mane. So you need to switch out of your Flutter Mane to whatever you have that's not Heatran in the back. Let your Iron Hands go down, let that go down, and then get in your Heatran and Flutter Mane together so the Flutter Mane can knock out the Goldengo with the Shadow Ball, knowing it cannot Terra, and then your Heatran will always, always, always win the 1v1 against the Ogerpon. No Terras even needed inside this game plan, but Elijah actually opts to stay in with the Flutter Mane and opts to Terra the Iron Hands.
Going Terra Fire to try and live any sort of Ivy Cudgel heading its way. Hands Fluttermane gonna rip a Moonblast into the Goldengo, do a decent amount of damage. Ivy Cudgel into the Iron Hands, not very effective. Goldengo gonna try and finish up the Fluttermane and will do so with ease.
So, like I was saying, it is kind of sad to see a 100% win condition kind of go out the window. Just because, don't get me wrong, I still think this is 90% instead of Elijah's favor, given what just happened, but by switching out of Fluttermane, you preserve the ability to one-hit knock out the Goldengo in the future side of the game, and your Heatran always wins the 1v1 up against that, the Ogerpon, so that 100% win condition's out the window. However, what Elijah did do, and I want to commend this, is chipping down the Goldengo into range of this Heavy Slam. I know at 9 HP, there's no shot it lives this guaranteed. So, that's all he really needed. You just got to knock out Goldengo. Great job identifying that once you get rid of Goldengo, you win the game immediately. So, great job. Different way to get the same answer. I commend that.
Ivy Cudgel not able to bring the Goodra under half. Goodra knocking out the Goldengo. And Iron Hands living another Ivy Cudgel. Thunder Punch into the Ogerpon. Not very effective. Surprised not to see a Drain Punch
Only
there?
reason why is on the off chance Goldengo maybe fainted. Because you just knock out Goldengo. The second Goldengo goes down, Heatran wins, guaranteed. I thought that was great.
And
well
there
played.
it is, Zachary deciding that he could see the writing on the wall, and Elijah Tatum is your Regulation E Florida Midseason Showdown champion. Congratulations to Elijah. He played that expertly. Was able to utilize the ability shield on Heatran in that game 1 to really catch Zachary off guard, and then in game 2 just did not let up off the gas pedal and kept the pressure on Zachary the entire game. And here we go, 50 championship points to Elijah Tatum, at least at this point. 1/10 of the way to his Worlds invites. Brady, thoughts on that final match and the day as a whole?
So, okay, first of all, from that match, gotta say, kudos. Absolutely very impressed by Elijah's play. It was awesome. Really cool getting to see it was very dominant. It was a very dominant performance at a finals. It was awesome getting to see that ability shield Heatran really putting in a lot of work up against that Ogerpon, because that is a 100% hard counter to Ogerpon, and that is something that a lot of teams need nowadays. So that's kind of cool that you have that. The one thing, like I said about Elijah, because I'm a coach, I have to have an eye for this stuff to help out my students. It's just in the in game, being able to identify if you had a board of Fluttermane that could click Shadow Ball onto the Goldengo, that gave you 100,000,000% chance. No BS could have happened. You just won, guaranteed. I wanted to point that out. But that being said, Elijah still was able to identify that by knocking out the Goldengo, you created a 1v1 of Heatran up against Ogerpon. So very well played. Same game plan. He very, very clearly saw that in game in mind. So kudos to that. All in all, the tournament today, I enjoyed watching it a lot. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed commentating. A lot of Tornadus, a lot of Dragonite. Some snow as well. Some snow was
a lot
there.
more snow than I anticipated. It was really the only prevalent weather that we saw today.
Right? You would think with all the Paradox Pokemon, there would be a lot of sun, or with it doing pretty good at Worlds, getting top 8, maybe some rain. But no. Okay, for what it's worth, right? I think it's just because it's new. Ninetales just got in. everyone wants to experiment around. Not to mention the idea of Excalibur plus Ninetales seems very cool on paper because you get the snow boost for your Excalibur, who can set up and sweep thanks to the Aurora Veil. Like, it seems very cool, and it's a fairy dragon type coverage, which is very good for helping each other out, defensively. It's pretty cool. But, that being said, all in all, I think offense is currently the way to go. Like, after a meta recap, Iron Hands not going anywhere, everyone. We learned this today. Iron Hands is still a champion at One Worlds for a reason. It has been on almost every team now. So, keep that on your radar. Have at least 2 checks for Iron Hands on every team. If not, run Iron Hands, because it's good, man.
Set your own.
Yeah, exactly. Chin Pao. That's the other thing. Chin Pao is everywhere. It's way more common than Chi Yu nowadays. And, Chi Yu's good in itself, obviously. The defensive Terras, or the defensive Ruin Pokemon completely fell out of play. Tinglu is no longer there. Wo-Chien had one showing at Worlds with Joe. Joe UX9 was playing it. No one else played Wo-Chien. No one, not a single person. So, I think it's kind of cool how the offensive ruins are still they're very prevalent. And in addition, it's cool seeing all these strategies evolve to enable your team using those the bead / Sword of Ruin to power up your ally to win, if it's with Fluttermane, with Chi Yu, or if it is with Dragonite / Dragapult like we saw on stream today with Chin Pao. So all in all, really good stuff today.
Well, once again, congratulations to Elijah Tatum. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of organizing this. We are going to go to one last break for the day, and when we come back, we are going to have our championship interview with Elijah Tatum. Don't miss it. We'll be right back.
The champion.
Welcome back one last time to Cool Stuff Games here in Maitland. I'm at the desk with our midseason showdown champion, Elijah Tatum. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It's
Dude,
an honor.
all day long you've been grinding. How was it going through those Swiss rounds and then the top cut, ultimately making it to the finals?
So I was playing Dragon at Chempao, and I was concerned about like priority, size spam with Indeedee Armor Rouge, but I've been playing this team since Regulation C with Snow, and then with Gudra and Heat Rank came legal. I put those on the team, and they've been working well. It's just today, knowing my key matchups and making sure I make those key reads, and outside of that, man, I play my game.
So going into game one of the finals, we were looking at you guys' teams, and honestly, we thought you had a pretty good matchup. But the ability shield on the Heatran, when did you make that call?
So I saw Ogerpon, people think it's really good. Me personally, I don't really know that much. And I seen with ability shield with Heat Run, you could block it. And that was the only time that it happened all day. And he even asked me on stream, he was like, well, yo, how did that work? And I'm like, ability shield. And yeah, it was a crazy moment. I didn't expect that.
Oh, so I think you were the only one using Hisui and Gudra.
Believe in the goo. That's my
Hey,
girl.
I'm 100% on the
goo.
same train as
This
you.
is amazing.
I was an Orthworm player before
Okay.
Gudra came on, so I saw your team and I felt the similar play style, and I'm like, I got to root for this guy.
Yeah, with Gudra, it counters hands and it counters Flutter with setup. So yeah, and Urshifu can't crit it. So that's why it's on my team.
So now you've got 50 championship points. Are these your first points of the season?
No, I won a Premier Cup last month. It was a smaller setting, but I did get that. So this is like the real start, I assume.
Nice.
So
Nice. And going forward, looking forward to seeing you at some of the upcoming regionals here in the next few months.
yeah, I'll be trying to go to San Antonio, Charlotte, Knoxville, Orlando's like a little bit later on. So I'll be at those. Just got to keep my practice up.
Hey, well, congratulations. You've got something great going here with this team. Now, you've been playing it for a long time. Can you speak to, a lot of people will switch things up, but it seemed like you knew the ins and outs of your team.
Everybody runs Sash Chempao. I run Life Orb for the extra damage output, and it KO'd a lot of Flutters today.
Oh, when we were popping off when we saw that your Sucker Punch knocked out the Flutter main Raw on stream. Absolutely great decision, and one that really carried you.
The whole team is kind of Flutter main proof, like Dragonite Kintera, but it's tough. That's a powerful Pokemon. It's the best one in the format. So I try to build around it. I gave Big Hands, Fire Terra just for those situations, and it paid off, especially with Ogerpon with Fire Terra being, really valuable now.
Well, once again, congratulations. You get to add the Midseason Showdown 2024 Circuit Champion to your resume. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, for watching. We had a lot of players, 64 Masters in total, 68 players. It was a great showing from the video game community as a whole. I want to thank Cool Stuff Inc. for hosting us here in Maitland. Got to thank Bobby Clark, George Carr, TJ, our tournament organizer, my co-caster, Brady Smith. It has been a fantastic day. We hope everybody has enjoyed the stream and hope to see you next time at our next Midseason Showdown. Have a great night, everybody.